What if the Raiders look at Fernando Mendoza and say, he's good, not great, and open up the bidding for the number one seed? Should the Arizona Cardinals pounce? No. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Clancy here. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast platform. We're QB rich today. QB heavy, even though the Cardinals don't have a quarterback for the future. 3 quarterback segments today, 3 different angles, 3 different guys, all of whom could have some say in who's the quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals in 2025 in very different ways. We'll finish up with Kyler Murray. What are the realistic packages for Kyler Murray? How does that potentially tie into the Cardinals trading up to draft Fernando Mendoza? Jacoby Brissett, is he the best option if it's not Kyler Murray or a drafted young quarterback? We'll talk about that in the second segment. But the impetus for this first segment today was, I've seen some outlets, I've heard some rumbles, I've heard some things. National media, a chunk of them, draft guys, see Fernando Mendoza as good, but not great. Clint Kubiak, paraphrasing here, came out and said, I'm going to have to watch a lot of film. Hours and hours and hours. He might have said hundreds of hours. I'm paraphrasing. To determine who's going to go number one overall. What did I say? That's the only thing that could keep Clint Kubiak from taking the Raiders job. If he didn't think Fernando Mendoza was the guy. But even if he doesn't think Fernando Mendoza was the guy, he took the Raiders job, the Raiders could get a lion's share for the number one pick from a quarterback needy team. Enter the Cardinals. Before I even get to that, let's do a broad overview of the young man who won the Heisman and the national championship. All of this disclaimers up front, starting now, seems to be the picture-perfect leader of a football team that a young man should convey. 100%. This is not a character attack. This is not an attack at all. But he looks to be the perfect, movie star definition of what a young quarterback should look like going in and most likely being the number one overall pick. Let's get that right away. Won the Heisman. Had some very clutch throws. The main one was the one in the back of the end zone to beat Penn State on the last play of the game. Incredible catch by the wide receiver. Good throw, incredible catch. They win. They stay undefeated. And they ended up going on to beat Miami in the national championship game. 3,500 passing yards, 41 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, had almost 10 rushing touchdowns, had that, incredibly iconic national championship game play where he ran it in from, 15 yards out. That said, I look at that as more of he was the head of the snake in a very safe ecosystem. I do research sometimes for this show every day. I wanted to see something specific because as we talked on the squad show last night, and as I've talked for 8 seasons out of the 10 that I've been doing this, or 9 that I've been doing this, if you have a great offensive line, everything looks better. And the Indiana Hoosiers had a great offensive line. 25 sacks given up, less than 2 per game. Average class in school, outside of one redshirt sophomore, which is a junior age, all of the rest were redshirt seniors or redshirt senior transfers, which means the ages were between 22 and 24 years old, going up against 19 and 20 and 21-year-olds on the other side of the ball a lot of the time. Now, while it's only a year, it's only 2 years, it's high school and college. So when you look at the amount of support and protection that Fernando Mendoza had, this is not negating the numbers. It's not negating that throw against Penn State. That they came all the way back in that game. Like that, the kid has intestinal fortitude. Nobody's questioning that. And then the championship game, like the only time, for the most part, that he saw real pressure was in the national championship game against that vaunted Miami front. And he struggled. He was around 50% completion percentage. They survived that game after getting out to an early lead with the defense's help. Now, he's the quarterback. He gets credit when they win. He gets knocked when they lose. I get all the idiosyncrasies I know, all the nuances I know. But the Arizona Cardinals need to fade getting in the Fernando Mendoza business. And it's not because he's not going to be maybe a good quarterback in the league. It's because they're not only going to have to probably give up a future first round pick to get him to move up 2 spots. This roster can't slow down to a learning curve of a rookie. It can't. It's so fragile as it is. They need all the draft capital they can choke down. And if you look into 2027, after Mike LaFleur has a year on his belt, it's not a year under his belt. It's not just, okay, you could draft a quarterback if you're in the top 10. You could look to trade for a quarterback at that point. Pandora's box opens up in 2027. You'd think Kyler Murray would be a year removed from being here. Jacoby Brissett, his contract will be up. You can make money move. They've got $40 million to spend going to this offseason. You can easily, create 25 more. And just because his star shines the brightest, it's just because it's the only one in the sky in 2026. I am not saying for 1 second that he can't be a great quarterback in this league at all. I'm also saying in the transitionary stage the Arizona Cardinals are in, this ecosystem isn't fit for a rookie quarterback. It's not. I've equated his production to Matt Leinart. Best offensive line in college football, had Reggie Bush. Like, it's different. Like, they had an all-star team and an all-star defense, for that matter. For the majority of the time, Leinart was at USC. But he was having tea parties in the backfield. So, while none of this is exact, and while all of this is speculative, through the combine, we'll see if he throws to the combine. He seems like a guy who will. He seems like that guy who's going to go through all of this stuff at the combine, even though he doesn't necessarily need to. Everything will be picked apart under the brightest light, the biggest microscope, which is an oxymoron, I think, because he's the only one up top. Is he worthy of the number 1 overall pick? Is he? Now, if the Raiders don't take him, do you give Kyler Murray and the 3rd round pick to move up to get him? We'll just put that in the back pocket. I think I can solidly say I am team fade Fernando Mendoza, not because he can't be great, but because the Cardinals don't have the ecosystem built to withstand a year and a half of a rookie scale when they're trying to get out of the mud and the muck they're in right now. And it's like, well, that's exactly how you do it. You have a rookie scale contract. You build around the rookie. You add money elsewhere to veteran pieces. I understand that. The Cardinals have so many needs in so many places that if Fernando Mendoza starts against that offensive line, maybe you bring in a right guard and right tackle. It's not the same as a bunch of 23-year-olds going up against 20 and 21-year-olds in college. It's just not. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. With that said, is Jacoby Brissett the best option? I mean, begrudgingly, yes, but there's more to it than that. I'll discuss it next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Indeed. If you've ever hired someone who looked great on paper, but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. You're hiring? Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. If I needed to hire someone for this show, I go straight to Indeed. Be very specific about what I need, real experience, not just a resume buzzword. And instead of struggling to get your job post seen, Indeed sponsored jobs helps your listing stand out and reach quality candidates faster. Sponsored jobs boost your post to the people who are the best match for the role, and that makes a real difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. So spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. That's Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Go there right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, hit that subscribe button, man. Inching closer to 5K. Be awesome to hit it before the season starts. Thanks for hanging out. Going in my 10th season. Just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. The Everydayers Club starting to get more and more people signing up. I've been having great conversations with people and, just wanted to continue to grow. So we can build this family. Is Jacoby Brissett the best option? Yeah. Right now, yes. The Cardinals need a higher floor, not a higher ceiling. That sounds defeatist. Sounds top 10 pickish. But it's true. They need an old faithful back there. Not old like age. They need somebody you know exactly what you're going to get every week. You can have conversations about trading for Mac Jones or, trying to lure a vet QB in over here. There's just not many. And I think above all else, what Jacoby Brissett did last year was show that there is a vertical game that could feed 3 pass catchers. There's a vertical game that could feature 3 pass catchers. And lest we forget, the tight end position is massive in the Rams offense. They had like 3 dudes. They had Tyler Higbee, Colby Parkinson, and Terrence Ferguson. They had 3 guys who were eating in some form or fashion. Ferguson, the rookie, not as much. But they featured the tight end position a lot this year, especially when Puka missed a game or 2 and then Devontae missed a little time. Like, they feature the tight end. Trey McBride is going to love this offense. And I'll tell you what, if you look back at what happened last year with Trey McBride, doing running it back with those numbers again is almost expected. And who was the one who was able to make that happen? Jacoby Brissett. A lot of it was not a lot of it. A chunk of it was in garbage time, of course. It needs to be graded on a curve. Completely understand. But when you look at what Jacoby did last year, even though he was 1-11, which is insane to say. I know what's coming out of my mouth when it's like, well, how is he the guy? It's like, dude, they had no run game. Like, it's not an excuse. It's a reason. They had no run game. He had to throw the ball 50 times. He had to drop back 50 times a game. He's getting beat up like crazy, especially from the right side. And all he did was just deliver the ball. He was one of the most efficient quarterbacks, and he had one of the deepest levels of depth of targets. So the reason why I wanted to do this specific segment was, let's explain it like this. You need to find, you're the Arizona Cardinals, as many constants as you can on this roster. Know exactly what you're going to get every week. And what looked to be a bevy of constants going into 2025 with the rookies, scattered around, that completely fell when James Conner got hurt, Trey Benson got hurt, Mac Wilson later in the year got hurt. Garrett Williams got hurt in week 2. It took Walter Nolan forever to get back. Jalen Thompson, Adrian Taylor-Demerson, Marv. It's like the constants fell either through injury or lack of production. And then you're like, oh no, you're in survival mode. It's like, all right, rookies, go get them. And then rookies got hurt. One constant last year, knowing, let me put it this way. Jacoby Brissett wasn't the main reason why the Cardinals lost the majority of their games. I think that can be agreed upon. He wasn't perfect. He wasn't a Pro Bowler. But he was the reason why the Cardinals stayed in games. And they just weren't able to execute down the stretch. I mean, there was a bunch of one-score games, not just the 40 burgers they gave up. Jacoby Brissett is a constant. He's a calming force at the most important position in football. And while his ceiling is not that of an all-pro, his floor is that of a guy you could trust with the football every downset hike. I mean, he had some fumblerooski issues, and we didn't see much of that last year. I think he fumbled in Indianapolis. I think he had a couple. He got hit a lot last year, and he was not a turnover machine. He was not a turnover machine. So with all the uncertainty swirling, all of the question marks, first-time head coach, questionable offensive coordinator who has ties to the brother, and had a great 3-year run in Green Bay with the other LaFleur, with Aaron Rodgers, obviously. And don't know who the DC is. Don't really know what's happening with Budda Baker. Don't know what's happening with James Conner. Don't know what's happening on the right side of the offensive line. Don't know what's happening with Garrett Williams and Walter Nolan and their injuries. That's a lot of don't know what's happening. You do know one thing that is happening. Number 7 will be calling the plays and running the show in 2025. I don't see a world where it doesn't happen. I don't see a world where it doesn't happen. Now, say they draft a quarterback in the 3rd round or something, and the Cardinals start 0-6. It's like, okay, well, let's have a different conversation. All that I can do right now with these conversations is take the information at hand, look at what should be the trend for the Cardinals, what I think is best for them, and spew it out of my big dumb face. I mean, there's been a lot of disagreement on what the best path is moving forward. If he should have kept JG, if, some people are saying Drew Petzing should, Nick Rallis, whatever it is, I know that Kyler Murray did very good things here on and off during his time. And this is crazy. Because even when they were 7-0, 10-2 in 2021, they took multiple series off, and they were just able to get wins. Jacoby Brissett is much more just consistent. Doesn't have the peaks, doesn't have the valleys, is just that B- student that will pass every test. And I think the more that the Cardinals have of those in 2026, the better. Is it perfect? No. Is it something that will help a first-time head coach get grounded and be able to sink his teeth into this organization? Yeah. We talk so much, and I can't believe I haven't brought, we talk so much about having experience from the coordinator's position to be able to build that cocoon around a first-time head coach. I think having a veteran quarterback helps that also. While growing with a rookie quarterback, I understand also, Michael LaFleur hasn't been around a lot of rookie quarterbacks. Around Zach Wilson. Yuck. Around Matthew Stafford. I think he was with Jimmy G in San Francisco. Not only has he not been a head coach before, he's not coached and developed talent from a rookie quarterback either. Jacoby Brissett could be a lot worse. What are the realistic expectations trade package-wise for Kyler Murray if they do end up trading him? We'll discuss it. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. The winter games are officially here. And if you're anything like us, you're locking in for the events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. And that's why following the winter games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care most about, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of curling matches that start slow and somehow get intense fast, speed skating races decided by inches, hockey games that feel different right from the opening faceoff. The U.S. women blanked Canada yesterday. I think it was 5-0. Even niche events become must-watch when you're fully locked into the competition, and FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game, man. It's gonna be fascinating. I mean, I'm telling you, there's going to be ties. Like, are the Cardinals going to trade up for Fernando Mendoza? Are the Jets going to trade up for Fernando Mendoza? Are the Raiders in love with Fernando Mendoza? That's the biggest one. That's the biggest one. And maybe it was just coach speak already from Clint Kubiak saying we have to watch a bunch of film even though they know they're going to take him. I don't think there's any gamesmanship here. I don't think there's, well, let's see what you can get for him. If Fernando Mendoza is the guy, you're going to take him. You're running a race just by yourself. You can take him. You got all the money. Take him. Spend all the money. But if they don't think he's the guy and you want to load up on picks for next year, sign a vet, fascinating. I just don't think the Cardinals should bite. What are realistic packages for the Kyler Murray? Okay. We've seen, from Ben Solak from ESPN, former Locked On host, for those who didn't know, a day 3 pick for Kyler Murray. We've seen 3rd round pick floated for Kyler Murray. What I think will happen and the peak of what I think could happen are wildly different. So I've said, a lot that I don't know why a 1st round pick isn't still in the conversation. And it's not breathe. I know the contract is a lot. Okay. Michael Biddle is going to have to eat some of that cheese. He's good at that. It's what he loves to do. He loves paying people who aren't part of the organization anymore. He's going to have to eat some of that cheese. 1. Number 2, there's going to have to be at least 3 teams who are interested. Vikings, Browns, Jets. 3. 2 of which, the latter 2, have multiple 1st round picks in 2026 and 2027. So, if there's a bidding war and the Cardinals say we'll eat, 50, we'll eat a third of it to get him off the books. Somebody throw a 1st round pick at him. Guy was ready to plug and play. Like, this is what a market allows is how much, draft capital someone is worth. This is the epitome of that. There's no real quarterbacks coming out of the draft that can be had outside of top 1. Unless you want to draft a 2nd or 3rd round guy and see if he's, legit and you can mold him into what you want him to be. The veteran free agent market is Daniel Jones off a popped Achilles, who's probably going to go back to Indy, and Kyler Murray. You got a guy who can plug and play and make your team better. Kyler Murray would make Cleveland better immediately. Kyler Murray would make the Jets better immediately. Kyler Murray would make Minnesota better than whatever the J.J. McCarthy experience would be immediately. So why don't the Cardinals bring him back? Why would they let him go if he's a better quarterback? Because it's time. So with that said, what if what if the Jets offer a 2027 first for him? It's like, listen, you got 5 of them. You can overpay using 1 to go get a quarterback who can be your quarterback for the next 3 years. You could restructure it. You can kick money down the road so it's not a huge cap hit. And then you're off. So I know nobody said he's going for a first, and that's probably what will not happen. He probably will not go for a first. That's probably what will happen. He will not go for a first. But the market will dictate. And the Cardinals need 3 or 4 teams that want his services, that have draft capital to be able to yield a first rounder. For me, what I would be searching for is a conditional second. A conditional second based upon wins or based upon percentage of snaps played. Because the biggest thing with Kyler Murray of late, well, he tore his ACL a couple years ago, and then he was out since week 5, in week 6 of this past season for the entirety of the year. So you're going to trade him. You're going to pay him a whole bunch of money. You're going to extend him a year, to add money. and he's just going to get hurt and then you're screwed again? Like, how does that work? So I get that. Do a conditional second-round pick that turns into a first if Kyler Murray plays 75% of the snaps in 2026. I think that's a win for the Cardinals. It was the Carson Wentz thing when they traded him to Indy. I think that's great. I think that's a win all around. The Cardinals get a second rounder at least. They're probably going to have to eat some cheese. That's it. Realistic? I don't think realistic is getting a third round pick for Kyler Murray. I just don't. Denver gave up more than that for Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson was, equal to or lesser than at that point. It's just what I said yesterday could help or could hurt. Him being out for the majority of the season last year could be the best thing or the worst thing. The best thing because people kind of forget. It's like, oh, well, you can glorify and glamorize what happened before then over the years. Or you can look at it and be like, oh, well, he was hurt. So no, I'm not going to trade for him. It depends how desperate teams are and what they're willing to give up to be able to leapfrog other teams that are looking for that player's service. But at this point, and it's really unfortunate to say, it's unfortunate that this is where we are with this team and Kyler Murray is more valuable via trade for the Cardinals than on the roster. It is better for the Cardinals to get draft capital than to have Kyler Murray on the roster. Even if, technically speaking, he's a better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett. That's just the world in which we experience and live now with this team. It's not going to be toxic. It's not going to linger. It's going to be a decision is going to be made in the next, month before his guaranteed money pops in for 2027. I mean, the other option is they're going to cut him. The smart football minds say they're just going to cut him. I don't know how they're not going to be able to get something for him. I've been wrong maybe once before. So, this could be the second one. I'm due, I guess. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.